Okay, so today I want to talk to you about document 196. Document 196 is a document that was prepared by the Operation Obtain team. Operation Obtain was a group of detectives who were assigned to investigate on behalf of the Criminal Cases Review Commission, the CCRC, for an appeal lodged by Jack Williams and Michael STEELE around 2002. A team of detectives from Hertfordshire, and their very narrowly focused investigation that was set by the CCRC was to investigate whether Darren NICHOLLS did or did not have a relationship with the media, newspapers, TV, prior to giving evidence, in which case obviously his evidence would be completely tainted. The reality is that we now know he did. However, document 196 is a compilation, a summary of intelligence that was coming into the murder squad, into the actual Rettendon murder squad at the time of the investigation. And document 196 is laid out. It's something that we found when we were going through the case papers, particularly Operation Obtain case papers, and it's laid out insofar as it starts at number 1 and then runs through sequentially with the date, and then it has a summary of the intelligence that's been fed in, and then the reference where that intelligence came from. So it's a summary only, and we have not seen the core documents behind that, or not all of them. And the core documents can come from a variety of sources. So it could be from informants, it could be from members of the public ringing in, spoken to by the detectives who are out doing the investigation. It could be from probe evidence, it could be from telephone intercepts, lawful telephone intercepts, from surveillance. It could be any number of sources of intelligence coming in, but it comes into the murder squad, it's recorded, and then where necessary, it's actioned. So it's literally what's called an action. A numbered action is given out to another detective to go out and to investigate, corroborate whether it's correct or not, prove or disprove it. The fact is that most of the material within document 196 was never investigated. So we don't know, or they didn't know, whether it was correct or not. That's the first thing to say. What you must understand, really important, is that the material within document 196 isn't proven, isn't disproven, and it could be people who have, for whatever reason, badness, put up people's names, fed in names into the murder squad for their own ends. That's really important. And much of document 196, the intelligence material in there, is clearly not correct. The other point that you need to understand about document 196 is that document 196 is meant to be a complete compilation of the intelligence of non-sensitive and sensitive material. Sensitive material may not be in there because the court would have dealt with that in a different way. However, there are some quite notable omissions from document 196, one of which, or two of which, is that we know that the entire blinkered investigation by Essex Police, the murder squad, started on the information of two informants, one a long-term informant for the same detective, constable within Essex Police. One was a long-term informant who fed in the name Mickey the Pilot quite early on, which is Michael STEELE. And the second was a man who was approached just after the murders, who was close to Tucker, particularly Tucker, Tate and Rolfe, and who was taken to Essex Police headquarters, and according to Essex Police, then disclosed the name Michael STEELE as being involved. We have a different account from that person. We won't deal with that, it's quite sensitive, and we won't be dealing with any of that. But it's important to note that document 196 doesn't deal with that intelligence at all. The second part that needs to be understood and is really important is there's nothing in there at all about William George JASPER, Billy Jasper, the man who was arrested in January, who openly stated that he was involved in the murders insofar as he drove the assassin there, and he gave a very detailed account of what took place. I'm not going to go into the Billy Jasper story here. The point is that they didn't record it in document 196. And one thing we do know is we've spoken to numerous Essex officers, whistleblowers, and people who've spoken to them. What we do know is that nobody in Essex that we've spoken to, including very senior officers, and including the SIO, Senior Investigating Officer Ivan Dibley, know anything about Billy Jasper or his account. We've listened to a recording that was done with Sky and with Panorama, and he also appeared on TV in another documentary. And it's quite clear that Ivan Dibley, Detective Superintendent, doesn't remember anything to do with Billy Jasper, which is quite surprising when you consider that he made the entries in the decision log around Billy Jasper, signed them off. Likewise, we've spoken to the DI, who unfortunately now passed away, but she likewise wrote those entries, and she does not recall Billy Jasper at all, and nor do any of the Essex officers we've spoken to. It's quite incredible. So Billy Jasper's evidence was never proven or disproven at the time, and it could have been. But that's for another day. We can deal with that separately. So document 196 is a really important document, and I intend to go through each piece of intelligence one by one in small pieces to identify what it says, when it came in, whether there is any corroboration for it or not. But it's interesting that Essex Police didn't deal with that intelligence, didn't investigate it, and there is some quite substantial material in there, some of which points quite clearly towards Billy Jasper's account. The way I put it over is that Essex Police had the jigsaw box in front of them with all the pieces of the jigsaw there. They could have opened the box, they could have taken out the piece of the jigsaw, they could have put it together, and they would have got the answer. The reality is they didn't even open the box, and that's the problem. So we're going to go through document 196 in some detail. It's interesting because it's never been disclosed before in the public domain. You've got to treat it, as I say, with kid gloves. It's not, by any stretch of the imagination, evidence. Much of it is intelligence or information that is wrong and incorrect. And there are people named in it that clearly were not involved in any way, shape or form. They may be involved in other criminality, they may be involved with criminality with Tucker, Tate and Rolfe or people associated to them, but they did not and were not involved in the murders. So I'm going to go through that in some detail, and I hope you enjoy it.